What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to the Blazers Uprise post-game show. We got a shorter stream on tap for you guys tonight. The stream's only going to be about an hour, but on the docket, we're going to recap this Indiana Pacers game. This was maybe the best offensive game by the Portland Trail Blazers all season long. Damian Lillard drops another 50-point game. He's been on a tear lately. And then we'll discuss Kobe Bryant, and we'll get into that. I'll have Eric joining me on the show in a little bit. He has to take care of a couple things, but this was obviously a very sad day, even for Blazer fans, even for somebody who grew up hating the Lakers, kind of despising Cody. I always respected him as a competitor, and I aspired to have that level of competitiveness when I played, and today's been really rough on me. It's been pretty rough on anybody who's a big fan of the NBA, man, because Kobe was a big part of my childhood. But I'll get into that a little bit later, especially when Eric's on. I want to recap the game first. We're just going to focus on the game because there was basketball still played today. That was up in the air earlier today, but we did have a game go down, and it was actually a very entertaining game. So I want to get to that first, and then about maybe, 20, 30 minutes into it. I don't know how long I'll recap the game, but we'll switch over to talking about Kobe. I'll get your guys' Kobe stories. If you want to post them in chat, I can read those off, and I'll reflect on it, and I'll give my thoughts and my feelings on it, and I'll get Eric's thoughts as well. But Damian Lillard, man. Damian Lillard gave us a bright spot on this day because that dude is an absolute baller. Absolutely killing it lately. This is his third straight game with 47 points or more. He was averaging 44 over his past 4 games going into tonight, and he dropped 50, so now that's up to like 45 points per game in his last 5. I think he also had 12 assists, unless that number went up, but just absolutely tremendous game by Damian Lillard. Just the type of performance that he's been having for us lately, and this is by far his best season of his career. This is peak prime Damian Lillard, and I'm having a blast watching this guy play right now. So let me look at his stats. He had 50 points, 13 assists, 6 rebounds, shot 14 for 23 from the field, shot 8 for 12 from the three-point line. So for the season, I want to do this math really quick. Whenever Dame drops a big scoring night like tonight, I like to calculate his average just to see what it's up to, because it's approaching 29 points per game, which is insane. For anybody new to the stream, we'll get into Kobe after we recap this game. I'm just going to recap the game first, then we'll transition. We'll talk about Kobe in a little bit. But let's see here. 1240. So after tonight, Dame is averaging a whopping 28.8 points per game. I believe he's averaging 7.7 assists per game. So just a tremendous season by Damian Lillard, man. And some of these shots he's shooting would be impossible shots for pretty much anybody in the world. But this dude is making them look easy. I think he hit 4 or 5 30-foot bombs tonight, which was very fun to watch. Sounds like we got Eric on here, so I will mute him. What's up, man?
Hey, it's all right. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. I mean, this game was fun, and I think the first thing, I was waiting to bring this up until you got on this post-game show, was the ball movement was actually tremendous tonight. It was the best ball movement we had all season, and our offense looked just like a well-oiled machine. It's just the type of offense that I've been wanting to see all season long, because I think it's better for our success, but then I also think it's a much prettier style of basketball to watch. It was definitely the prettiest offensive performance. Not only, Dame dropping 50, but everybody seemed to be clicking, hitting shots, and there's multiple possessions where it's like, wow, that's the ball movement I've been waiting all season to see.
Yeah, we had multiple possessions, especially early in the second half, where the ball went to the corner, and instead of the guy taking a tough shot, he would throw a cross-court pass or to someone cutting down the middle, and they would kick it to the guy on the opposite corner. And then out of that, there was a time or two where that person passed up a shot to give an even better shot for someone on the top of the key wide open. And you just love to see when the team plays like that, because, how many times have we seen videos like that of this team when they make like 4 or 5 passes on a possession and it leads to a wide open shot, and they usually hit that shot. It's just good basketball, and I wish they do that more. I hope they build on this. I thought Terry actually had a really good game tonight. So we'll get into that later. But man, there was a stretch of several minutes where it was just like a highlight reel in the third quarter.
It was a clinic, man. I mean, just deliberate offense, not forcing shots, passing up contested threes that aren't there. And also, the easiest, I tweeted this out, and if you guys want to follow me at Tori Jones YT, it's at HoopsJock for Eric. But I tweeted this out during the game. The easiest pass to shoot jump shots off of are inside-out passes. So if you're facing the rim, the ball's coming directly from the rim out to you or something close to that, because you can basically, you're already lined up to the rim and you can just step straight into your shot, catch the ball lined up, and shoot it. So those are the easiest type of passes to shoot off of. Part of the reason we shot so well, outside of Dame hitting some crazy shots, was, part of the reason we shot so well was we had a ton of those types of passes. So guys were able to step directly into shots and get wide open, clean looks off of inside-out passes. And there was a stretch where we had like 5 possessions in a row. We got a wide open 3 with a decent shooter off of that type of pass.
And then it ended with the behind-the-back pass from Dame to Hassan for the dunk, which was awesome. Mm-hmm. Hassan had that and one dunk on a nice roll down the middle. It's a great point. When you're catching a ball from inside out, it's like right in your pocket. Usually, there was one where Ariza hit where he had to like catch it from the floor and shoot it. But for the most part, it was all just like right there, ready to shoot when you catch it, wide open. And it's so much better of a rhythm to shoot like that. So that's a great point by you. And then also, we've talked about this before, but when you use isolation, you can use it to create inside-out possessions. Yeah. You don't necessarily have to have a post-up. So, like, if you want to run an ISO offense, this is the type of movement you need to have, where you're getting into the lane, drawing the defense, and obviously Dame's drawing insane amount of
attention
right now because of his hot streak. But like, he can drive to the middle, CJ can drive to the middle and kick out like this all game. It's there all the time, and that's what's so frustrating about this team when they don't do that. So like, it's just encouraging to see, like, this is the team you and I both believe is in there somewhere, and they haven't played like it this season. And then the other thing that goes along with not just necessarily inside out, but when you pass the ball several times in a possession, this is what happens when everyone touches the ball. Everyone feels like they're a part of the offense. They're not just standing around watching. They know at any possession they could get the ball. They have to be ready to shoot, have to be ready to crash the rebounds or whatever. They get more involved on defense. There were some lapses in the second half, but during that stretch we were talking about, they played amazing defense for a while, built like an 18-point lead, and the game was pretty much over at that point. And it was because everyone was feeling it. They all touched the ball. They all had a part in it. It wasn't just necessarily – it's hard to say that when Dame scored 50 points in a game. Yeah. But it truly was like a team effort. Like, everyone was involved tonight, and that's great to see.
I mean, yeah, it was definitely the best offensive performance of the season. Second game in a row where they hit 23s or more. They were 20 for 35, so they shot 57%. Sorry, I've got to mute the audio. I'm looking at the ESPN box score here, and ads and clips always play, but so 57% from the three-point line, hitting 23s. That is the best three-point shooting night of the season by far. Dame was 8 for 12, but outside of Dame, that means the rest of the team was 12 for 23. So the other guys combined shot over 50%. You had CJ making his return tonight. He had 28 and 5 assists. He was 11 for 21 from the field. I thought he kind of forced some stuff early trying to get into a rhythm. But overall, very solid game. He was 6 for 9 from the three-point line. So if you're able to get 14 threes on 21 attempts out of your backcourt, Portland's a very hard team to beat no matter who they have hurt, And, I mean, you got Whiteside 9 for 11. I mean, you had Swanigan hitting a couple shots off the bench in 12 minutes. Nasir Little hit a 3, and let me just talk about that Little 3 for a second. Did his form look a lot smoother on that 3, or what?
It looked like he was like confident when he shot it, if that makes sense. Like he knew it was going in. He just like caught it and shot it right away. No hesitation. You like to see that.
And it wasn't from the corner either. It was from the longer distance. So it was nice to see him hit one of those.
It definitely looked different than his one in the second half. Was a little off, but Yeah.
But I mean, so just overall, great offensive game. The thing is, they needed pretty much all the points they had because they gave up 129 points to the Indiana Pacers. Again, not covering the 3-point line all that well. They let Doug McDermott hit 6 threes. He was 6 for 8. The Pacers shot 13 for 28 from the 3-point line, 46%. This has been a problem with the team, and it's still a problem with the team. But it was a problem with that last game against the Dallas Mavericks where we were in it, but we gave up. I don't remember how many points we gave up, but it was somewhere around 130, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah,
I'll
so
have to go back and look.
Still got to tighten up the defense. I still think we can play better defense, and that's the thing. Just play better defense and figure out a way to move the ball like this, and this team would be competitive. And honestly, if we had been moving the ball like this earlier this year, I think we'd be above 500 right now. I'm a big believer that this team plays a lot better when they move the ball. Guys get a lot more comfortable. The offense just has a lot better rhythm. Inside out passes help guys hit threes just because they're easy to shoot off of, but also when the ball is being spread around like that, it gets more open threes in general, and then the offense looks like it has a ton more rhythm, so it just flows and plays a lot better.
Yeah, I felt like a lot of their scoring was once we got a double-digit lead. We always do this lately where we kind of ease up, and so like it's almost like, oh yeah, we got this game, and then so like a lot of them were based off like chaos plays or not necessarily the strongest defense. It's hard to focus too much on that today because the rest of the game was so good. But yeah, the defense was pretty bad.
I will give Indiana credit though. They shot 20 for 21 from the free throw line. So that definitely helped. That's a tremendous free throw shooting night from them. And also, they hit some shots. They're a really solid team. Even without Oladipo, who they've been without all season. He's kind of like Nurkic for us, But they're basically missing 3 starters. They were missing Brogdon, who's been tremendous this year, might be an all-star. They're missing Oladipo all season, and then they were also missing Miles Turner. But this has been a team that has stepped up all season long, even with having injuries. They're 30-17 for a reason. They've had guys miss games, but when guys miss games, they have other guys step up. You look at Jeremy Lamb scoring 28 points, shooting 10 for 15. You look at Domantas Sabonis, who I think should be an all-star this year. He had a triple-double. I didn't even realize he had a triple-double. He had 27 points, 14 rebounds, 11 assists. His passing has been really, really impressive this year, kind of looking like his father. I was kind of surprised. I don't know. I was a little bit surprised Arvydas didn't show up for 90s night with his son playing against Portland, but I was
must have been a reason for that.
Especially with his son 90s night.
So Sabonis, he does not look very strong, but he plays way stronger and physical than he is, and that's the kind of like big I love. Is just the guy who he's not necessarily the strongest, but he uses that strength like perfectly to get little shots open in the lane. He's not too physical to the point where he's over fouling or anything like that. He's just like the perfect amount of physicalness, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, it makes sense. I mean, he played at Gonzaga. I remember him in college. He would dominate bigs. He'd either shoot that mid-range jump shot or he'd just drive into guys and kind of bully them. He was a beast in college playing that style of ball, and now he's taking it to another level now that he's in the NBA. It's nice to see. That's a guy I definitely root for, being Arvydas' son and a former Gonzaga Bulldog. I do really like this Indiana Pacers team. I enjoy watching some of their players. I like some of their players. They've always reminded me of the Portland of the East. They've always been underrated, man. They've always been underrated in the Eastern Conference, small market, not like a flashy superstar. But they're a good team, man. And even with 3 guys out, they had guys step up. Aaron Holiday had 17 off the bench. McDermott had 19. Lamb had 28. Sabonis had 27. So they had guys step up in replace of some of the pieces they were missing.
Yeah, I was just going to say Aaron Holiday looks like a definite rotational player in this league, too. They got him in, like the 22nd or 23rd pick or something a few years ago?
Yeah, right before we took Simons. But because I remember that was a guy. I searched Aaron Gordon. I'm going to look up Aaron Holiday's stats because I am a bit curious to see what he's averaging 10 points per game on the season, 3.5 assists. He's shooting 42% from the field and 42% from 3. Per 36 minutes, he's getting 16 and 16 and 5.5. So that's pretty good for being it's his second season in the NBA playing a bench role. He's had some big games this year, so he'll be a intriguing third guard for them going forward. I do like the guards they have. They also have T.J. McConnell in there. They got a ton of depth, man. They got a ton of depth. They had a really good offseason this past year. They got T.J. Warren for free. Some of you guys out there might not remember, they got T.J. Warren in the 32nd pick for free for cap space, which was a tremendous trade for them. I don't know what Phoenix was doing with that, but so this was just an enjoyable game though. Pretty basketball. Definitely had like just a weird feeling to it overall at the start. Kind of settled into the game, but just overall like. It just seemed like guys looked a little sluggish out there to start the game, like their heart wasn't really in it, and I obviously can't blame them.
I was glad they did the 24-second and the 8-second thing like all the other games today.
Yeah,
I was like, please don't be the only teams that don't do that.
No, I was kind of worried about that too, but I mean, I with Dame and it made sense, and that's the perfect tribute: the 24-second shot clock violation and the 8-second. 8-second half-court violation. So, yeah, man, that was rough today. I found out about it by reading your text because I was asleep until like 1, and then I woke up and I saw your text. And I'll be honest, like I had a dream or something a couple weeks ago that like this happened or something.
With
like,
Kobe?
Yeah, dude, it was weird. I don't really remember it, but I woke up like with like Kobe dying on my mind like a couple weeks ago. I don't know. I guess that was foreshadowing. It just kind of like once I saw it, it freaked me out. Well, I wasn't gonna go on Twitter and say like, "Oh, I dreamed about this a couple weeks ago." Like, damn, man. But yeah, it's just kind of crazy. And let me start off with this. So, growing up, my parents were big NASCAR fans, man, and they couldn't stand Dale Earnhardt. But my mom told me that when Dale Earnhardt passed, like she was super upset for 3 days. And I was so confused. I was like, if you weren't a fans of his, if you didn't really, like him, why were you so upset that he died? You know what I mean? I always wondered that growing up, and I hadn't thought about it like in previous years, or I haven't thought about it in a while, but like I was thinking about it today, like now I know exactly how that feels like. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Obviously, I wasn't like a fan of his as a. How do I say this? Like, he was a Los Angeles Laker and absolutely tore my heart out time and time again. That was a staple in my childhood was Kobe dominating the Portland Trailblazers. And we won our fair share of games, but dude seemed to have tremendous performances against us, especially some nights in the Moda Center. And, obviously, like I hate the Lakers, that type of thing. But I always respected him as a competitor, just like how he'd go out there and just how hard he'd play, how hard he worked. And that kind of like I took some inspiration with that in high school. Like I've always been super competitive like that. So it was like, I couldn't stand the guy, but I was like I was a fan of his in a way. You know what I mean? Like I was a fan of his, just like the way his work ethic and kind of the intensity he played with, and I respected him as an athlete. And since retiring, man, I actually kind of grew to like him as a person. Since
too.
Retirement, really good ambassador for the game, really good. Obviously a great father, you could tell, and that's what's most heartbreaking with it is that his daughter was on that flight too, or in that too. Like that hurt to see, man. Like this was a very rough day for me, dude, and I was kind of glad there was a Blazer game to kind of get my mind off things, but this was definitely very tough.
Yeah, as a father too, like just thinking about those moments when the helicopter's going down and having to like watch as your daughter is there with you and knowing there's nothing you can do about it. I just can't imagine that feeling, and just knowing that he probably did everything he could to try to protect her in that situation, but there's just nothing you can do. That like wrecked me today when I found out that his daughter died too. Like I was already pretty torn up about it, and then there was you missed the initial stuff. So there was all this like misreporting at first. Some people were reporting that all four daughters were with him on the helicopter.
Yeah.
Which was that when I heard that I was like, oh my, like, are you serious? But yeah, she had her whole life ahead of her and stuff, and she loved the game of basketball. You could tell she was gonna be a good player someday. So you hate to like see that too. But
I mean, that's why she was on the helicopter in the first place.
Yeah,
she was going to
exactly.
a practice, and
ironic.
Yeah.
But for me, so Kobe's only about 10 months older than I am.
Mm-hmm.
So the 96 draft was right before my senior year in high school. So I was just like, I was a senior playing basketball that time. And so my whole adult life has been basically watching Kobe play basketball and hating the Lakers and hating him because he was such a great Laker.
Yeah.
And the rivalry with Portland and them just, the 2000 finals where they ripped our hearts out in Game 7, all that stuff. So it's like weird because I don't know him personally, but he's been such a big part of my life as a basketball fan and as a Blazer fanatic for so long. My whole life I've rooted for the Blazers and hated the Lakers back to the 80s with Kareem and Magic and all them. It's like this guy has like been part of my sports mindset my whole adult life.
Yeah.
And for you, it's your whole life basically.
Mm-hmm.
And so like you don't know him personally, but like he's had such a tremendous, been a big part of your life, whether it be just watching games where he played or just his impact as a legend in a game of basketball. It's unfortunate. This is pales in comparison to what his family's going through, but like the fact that he didn't get to be inducted in the Hall of Fame while still alive and all that stuff kind of sucks now.
Yeah.
That's going to be a really sad day when that happens.
I was thinking about it like the other week. Like I'm looking forward to hearing Kobe's speech because dude was a great like speaker. Dude just had like an aura about him that just a different like vibe. Like he had just like a unique vibe with him. And man, it's still thinking about it now. It just doesn't feel real. Like, cause the dude just seemed like bigger, almost bigger than life. You know what I mean? So when somebody like that passes, it's like even more shocking. Like it's crazy, man.
I think that's probably the biggest, most surprising death in the Twitter era.
It is,
or like social media era. Yeah.
It is. I think
the only thing I think that's even close is maybe Prince, but like a lot of young people.
Yeah, but Prince was, Prince was older and didn't he have health issues? Like,
well, he died from like a prescription drug overdose or something.
Yeah.
So like it wasn't quite the same.
Gotcha.
Michael Jackson's a good one too, but I feel like that was still a little before like social media really took off.
Yeah, I mean it's the most shocking like sports death I think maybe of all time. I mean, other than maybe like Roberto Clemente, his death was obviously tragic with what he was, he was doing some charitable work and died as a part of it. So that was rough. But man, it's the first like. I mean, you got like artists and stuff. Mac Miller, man. Him, I mean Juice WRLD too. It's just, but like lately, it just seems like there's a lot of icons that are falling. I mean, you had Nipsey, you had X, you had a lot of artists lately, and now it's like you have Kobe. You just had David Stern. Like, it's been rough lately, man. It's been rough. And like, but dude, I'm still shocked. It still doesn't seem real, man. Like when you texted me, it was like. Just I don't know. I've never had that feeling reading something in my life. Really, you know what I mean? Like I don't know. I was shocked, and then log on Twitter, of course, and man, it's just rough. And the thing is, like, it's tough because basketball fans just have a personal attachment to him, whether it's positive, negative, whatever.
Yeah.
When you have a personal attachment to somebody like that, even though you don't know them, it almost feels like somebody died in a way, because you learn who they are as a person in a way. You like kind of get familiar with their personality. You watch them year after year after year, and it's a personal attachment that you get to them, whether you're a Laker fan, whether you're a Blazer fan. It's just that's why it's so tough, because Kobe was one of the most visible athletes, most well-known icons. How many people, shooting trash into the trash can would yell Kobe. You know what I mean? Like, so that's why it's tough, man. It's just something that I see that I don't like is people saying like, "Oh, I'm surprised there's so much, outpouring of grief or whatever. I don't understand it, because."
You never met him. Why are you crying?
Yeah, you never met him, and there's always people when like an icon dies that says, "Well, a paramedic or a firefighter or something just died, or 3 firefighters just died." Like there should be the same outpouring of grief for them, and it's like, yes, it's obviously sad, but it's different when you have a personal connection to somebody, even if you don't know them. No matter what, if you don't know a firefighter and they're doing charitable work and die because of it, like that's tragic and that's heartbroken. But like human nature, it's tougher on humans if you're personally attached to somebody, if you're familiar with somebody's personality, if you're, you know what I mean? Like it's a difference, and I don't like when people like take a tragedy like this and kind of act a little bit self-righteous in a way and basically say like, oh, you should be acting like this with this tragedy, or you should be responding this way, or you know what I mean? There always seems to be that going around, and I think that's just a Twitter thing, but it's like there's no like right way to grieve, wrong way to grieve. You know what I mean? Like unless you're being super, super toxic, which I saw that out there too, which is a shame, but it happens with Twitter and people trying to get attention. It's just that's something that I don't like to see is the people that kind of put themselves on a pedestal and get self-righteous and basically tell people like, oh, you're too upset about this, or you weren't upset enough about this other person. I don't like that stuff.
Yeah, Trevin brings up a good point that other than maybe Wilt, like most of the legends are still around in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
Like you got Bill Russell still alive.
I mean, you got Magic still alive. He was diagnosed with HIV, 3 decades ago?
Yeah, 1992, and he outlived someone that
was born after, or actually
wasn't even high school. Yeah,
came into the league after him. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah, and then like, I mean, you see Kareem Abdul-Jabbar like eulogizing him basically today, or like posting a video to remember him, and it's like, wow, like that's crazy. Like I would never imagine like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar having to like talk about Kobe's death. Like that just seems so weird. It should have been the opposite, like someday, when they're both old. And it's just so sad.
I mean, and you had Dwight Howard reaching out to Kobe saying, "Oh, help me in the dunk contest," and that's what.
Oh yeah.
A little over 2 weeks from now, you had LeBron passing Kobe last night and talking about Kobe last night. That's why it was just like there's like a lot of like, you had the video that went viral like a week ago with Kobe talking to his daughter on the bench. That's part of the reason why it seems so surreal. Is like everybody's been talking about Kobe lately. You know what I mean? Like Kobe's been in the news with Dwight, with LeBron,
just passing him last night.
There's been a bunch of like talk about Kobe. So, and then all of a sudden, the day after LeBron passes him, Kobe dies in a tragedy like this. Man, it's just it's rough. Like I don't know. I'm still trying to process it. Like today was rough, dude. Like, I'm glad there was we should talk about this. I'm glad there was a Blazer game tonight to kind of like get my mind off it and give me something to enjoy and that type of thing. Like, obviously it was tough on the players, so I don't even disagree with the people saying there shouldn't have been games today. Just personally, I did enjoy I did
It helped that
enjoy
they
it.
played well too.
Yeah, it just gave me some relief from it because I was just kind of devastated today. It's
I
weird.
I forgot until right before the game started when they were announcing the starters, and I was like, "Oh yeah, Riza played with him and like
Hmm.
won a championship with him. Like how the heck is he going to play? He actually knew him before he even came into the NBA because he grew up in
Yeah.
LA. It's like that must have been so rough. And Melo's, whether you think so or not, he is like in the story of basketball someone that you have to mention uh, eventually. And so like I'm sure he was had somewhat of a relationship with him.
Yeah.
Dame said that he spoke with him about life and stuff a lot,
Hmm.
and just what Kobe was trying to do for the game of women's basketball too. Um,
Yeah, he's just an ambassador to the game, man.
yeah,
Yeah.
so like you
Um,
said, I kind of grew to like. I know this is kind of sacrilegious to say, but like I did kind of like him once he retired.
yeah, I
Uh,
did too. You know what I mean? There was no reason to like hate him like for being a Laker because he wasn't a Laker anymore. Um, so yeah, I mean it's just tough, and we can cover this a little bit more on our podcast tomorrow. If you want, if other people want, I don't know. I don't know. I don't really know how to cover something like this, guys. Like, it's not. I don't know. It's not an easy thing to even talk about, man. It's tough to even think about. Um, but yeah, man, it's just a shame. It's too soon. I won't hop in a helicopter, man. I will not. I will never ride in a helicopter. Those
yeah,
things. Hell no. You already know I'm scared of heights. You already know I hate flying in airplanes. Like you could possibly get me on an airplane though. Um, but like I'm not I'm not hopping on a helicopter, man.
yeah. It's weird. They say it's safe. It's one of the safest modes of transportation. But I mean, that might be a little skewed because I mean, not many people ever take a helicopter. So if people were flying in helicopters as much as cars, it would probably increase that. Um,
Yeah, see, Chris
but yeah,
Stevens says getting in a car is twice as dangerous as getting in a helicopter. I'm not entirely sure that's true. You'd have to give me some sort of statistical survey, but I mean, like, that's the thing is you don't. I mean, I there's been multiple people that I've heard of dying in helicopter crashes, like icons, and I don't feel the same. I don't feel like it's the same as with car accidents, man. I feel like I don't know. I don't know. Maybe that's the thing too. Is like rich. That's icons. Rich people fly helicopters a lot more. I don't know. I don't know. I that is kind of curious, but that's the thing is you. That's what sucks with helicopters. Like you're not getting out of that.
yeah.
Like that thing's just that you're just. I don't even want to talk about it. But
Well,
um.
then they said there was like a brush fire around the helicopter,
Mm-hmm.
so they couldn't even get to them if there were. Like I pray that everyone died instantly and they didn't have to like die because they got burnt in a fire or something like that. It's like so terrible to
It's
think
just
about. Oh,
yeah. It's
oh,
tough. Yeah, it's
yeah,
tough that like we even have to say that. You know what I mean? Like just it's just rough, man. So yeah, I will never ride in a helicopter. I don't like the heights, and just a sad day, and it'll be the talk for a while, man. Like the league's just gonna feel different for the league's missing Kobe now. It's definitely gonna be a hole that can't be replaced.
Well, I always thought he would go on to be like an owner or like
Mm-hmm.
a GM or like coaching. Maybe I know he's coaching girls, but like I always felt like he would eventually be a part of a franchise, probably the Lakers, but
Yeah.
part of a team again. And there was all these jokes over the summer about like, oh, what if Kobe bought the Blazers someday from Jody Allen or something, which is weird to think about. I wasn't necessarily as opposed to some people
Yeah.
against
Neither was
that,
I, man. Yeah.
but but yeah, I'll never get the chance, unfortunately. And
Mm-hmm.
just thoughts and prayers go out to his family, man. That's I can't imagine um, losing like your a child first of all and your spouse at the same time. Like it's just terrible.
Um. Yeah. Yeah, so we can talk about this more on our podcast tomorrow if you
Okay.
guys want. Um,
So Damian Lillard.
yeah, so I did want to respond to this. Dionysus Pogite came in and said, "I want to correct Tori from a previous post. He was thinking Dame is having the best statistical season of any Blazer. I did not have to look past Clyde to prove that wrong. I really thought it'd be closer, but it's not even close." So he's basically saying Dame right now is not having a better statistical season than like Clyde's best season. But the most points per game Clyde ever averaged was 27.2 points per game in 39 minutes too, by the way. Dame's averaging 28.7 or 28.8 right now, so Dame hasn't beat there. Dame is averaging 7.8 assists after this game. The most assists per game Clyde ever averaged he had one season with 8. But he was also only getting 18 points per game in that season. That was his third season in the league. The next closest season was under 7. The most efficient season Clyde had, he had a true shooting percentage of 56%. Dame is upwards of 62% right now. So I definitely disagree with that. I think this season that Damian Lillard's having is better statistically than Clyde's best season. You could say Clyde's best season, he had 27 points per game, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists. I'd say Dame getting 29, 8 assists, and 4 rebounds is better. He's been more efficient this season than Clyde had ever been in any of his seasons. So I don't understand why he's that's an interesting argument. I disagree with that. What do you think? Do you think this is the best statistical season a Blazer has ever had?
Advanced statistics, probably. Yeah, it's tough. Clyde was so good back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have such a weird. Drexler's I don't know how to explain this, but like he was my favorite player growing up, by far. Like I love Drexler, but ever since he got traded, man, I just feel no connection with him anymore.
Yeah.
Part of that's because he doesn't feel connected with Portland anymore. But I don't even like. It's not that I don't like him anymore. That's not what I'm trying to say. But like, I don't have the same like reverence of him that I did when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. It's like almost the exact opposite of Jerry Rice because like you see Rice at the sidelines of the West on the the NFC title game last week, and he's going crazy like a fan, still like 49ers in his blood and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And like you just wish that if Clyde was like that, he'd be like so beloved here. And I know it's not. There's nothing forcing him to be that way. But like. I just don't respect him the same way I did, and he'll always be one of my favorite players. But like, I just don't really care or like him that much after he left the Blazers. So, but yes, he had some amazing seasons, and also with that some team success that Dame hasn't achieved yet, and so it's really hard to compare like, is 8 rebounds and 6 assists better than 8 assists and 4 rebounds and 2 more points per game. Like all that's pretty.
With Dame playing a couple less minutes per game, I'd take Dame, man. Honestly,
that's what I'm saying. Analytically, all that stuff. It was also a much different game back then too. With the way you could defend, with the 3-point line not being as prevalent and all that kind of stuff.
That's why we were just saying statistical season. I'd take the stats. Just obviously context makes it different, but just in terms of the stats, I'd take Dame's stats.
If you want to say that Clyde's is better, I wouldn't think you're wrong or anything. But
but he said it wasn't even close.
To say it wasn't even close, yeah, that was going to be my point. Like. It is definitely very close. It's razor thin. So either way is fine with me. But yeah, and we'll see if Lillard keeps this up. Obviously, the rest of the season, just like not necessarily scoring 50 points a game, obviously, but just the true shooting percentage and some of his other numbers. then that's going to be pretty hard to dispute that.
Yep. So something else in chat. We'll just kind of bounce around here. Somebody brought up a trade idea. They said Whiteside, Swanigan, and Hazonia for Batum, Monk, and Willie Hernangomez. There was a response to that by Dionysus, who said you can't combine Swanigan with other players since we just traded for him. So that trade wouldn't work. But actually it would work because the deal with that, we'll get into a CBA thing here for the night. This will be our CBA thing for the night. You can attach players you just traded for with other players if you don't combine their salaries in order to match something. So Whiteside would match Batum, Monk, and Hernangomez by himself, so you could toss in Swanigan on top of that since you wouldn't need to combine his salary with Whiteside's salary in order to match the salary you're bringing in, if that makes sense, because I know people get confused about that a lot. But would you do that trade? Would you do Whiteside, Swanigan, and Hazonia for Batum, Monk, and Hernangomez?
I don't know. To explain that a little differently too, you could just trade Swanigan for Willie Hernangomez, and then I don't know if that's what you just said.
Yeah, I mean, basically, you just don't if you have to combine their salaries in order to match what you're bringing in, then it doesn't work. But if you can match what you're bringing in without including the player that you just traded for, then you can toss them in on top of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I don't know. Would you rather have Malik Monk or the Cleveland pick?
The Cleveland second round pick or Malik Monk?
Yeah.
I'd probably have the Cleveland second round pick. Monk's just been a bust. He's just been disappointing. He just doesn't defend well, doesn't make plays for others, and isn't efficient. His advanced stats are terrible. So I'd rather have the Cleveland pick. You could get me thinking about the Cleveland pick.
Yeah.
Since we'd save some money there, that's an interesting trade. And then Batum would be a $25 million expiring contract next season. I don't know. I don't want like a expiring that big necessarily, but
right.
Because something I've been thinking about, man, is there is the possibility of bringing in somebody with a sign and trade. So having something like 15 million or so is ideal. Obviously, it'd hard cap us, but a target I've been thinking about is for a sign and trade. Really, the one guy I could see us going after and possibly landing is Bogdanovic in a sign and trade, because he's like really cool with Dame. Apparently, he's always tweeting about Dame. Like, he's a big fan of Dame's. You got Nurkic here, which they're not from the same country, but a European here. I don't know, and we'd have a starting role for him as a small forward. He's a guy who can shoot threes really well, and he's been a really good defensive player, and he can make plays. That's the thing, is like Sacramento, you could maybe convince them to a sign and trade. Maybe you attach a pick and like a medium level contract in order to match Bogdanovic's salary in a sign and trade. But like, I don't see him taking on Batum's $25 million in a sign and trade. You know what I mean? It'd be harder to get him to do that.
Well, see, it's tough because Whiteside would have to want to go to Sacramento too. You don't know about that.
I mean a sign and trade to bring Bogdanovic in, not sign a player of ourselves.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking about like Batum's salary, would be a little bit too big for Sacramento to like be willing to sign and trade Bogdanovic to us compared to like maybe having, a $15 million salary and we signed Bogdanovic for like 20, starting at like, I don't know, probably have to overpay him a little bit, but I don't know how much he's going to get paid, but
I thought you meant you were starting to feel like we should keep Whiteside because then we could sign and trade him, but that's not really how it works.
I'm just talking about like we're talking about bringing in Batum, so we have an expiring contract to trade next year, and we have a contract to trade during the offseason. I would like something a little bit smaller if possible for an expiring contract this summer, expiring contract next year. I don't know.
Do you think Bogdanovic is that good?
Yes, Bogdanovic is super underrated. I've tried to watch some Kings game, and I've been impressed with his defense, man. I
mean, he's had a negative defensive box plus minus his whole career. I know that's not the end all be all, but his true shooting percentage for his career is 54.2, which is like he's basically like a CJ, in my opinion. His assist percentage isn't great.
Real plus minus, I think, is better for gauging defense than than box plus minus, because box plus minus is more of like a box score thing and like too affected by defensive rebounding too much.
Yeah.
And I think let me find it here. Bogdanovic has a positive 0.5 defensive real plus minus. He has a 2.5 offensive real plus minus, so he has a real plus minus of 3, which ranks him that ranks him 6th among all small forwards in the league, and that ranks him 23rd amongst players. Obviously, advanced stats aren't, the end-all be-all at all or anything close to that. They can be flawed, but I like real plus minus a little bit more than box plus minus, to be honest. But based off watching him, man, like he looks solid on that end, and he can make plays. He's getting 4.5 assists per 36 minutes, got 5 assists per game per 36 minutes last season, so I think he's a little bit more of a playmaker than CJ is. And I think he'd probably shoot better in our offense. I think he'd get better looks, to be honest. I think he'd probably play better in a starting role. He's been brought off the bench the last couple years after starting more than half his games as a rookie. And I think I think he might play better as a starter. It's only his 3rd season, so I could see maybe him having an uptick in production. I just think that would be a good guy to gamble on.
Yeah. I hate trying to think about signing trades because so many variables have to go in.
Oh, obviously.
Like you said, the Dame connection could probably help, but even with that, if Sacramento if they change their mind and don't want to let him go, they don't have to trade him. They can just either make him accept the qualifying offer or match any contracts he'd get. So
I don't think they'd hold him hostage though. I mean, you saw Brogdon last year with the Bucks, and they basically traded him to another Eastern Conference playoff team and only got a pick back for it. But so that's the thing. You'd have to make it worthwhile. So that's why Batum's contract I think would be too big for that. So because that's how this whole conversation started, is trading for Batum. So we have a contract to trade this offseason and next year. That's why I would like something like maybe a Jang or something like that.
Well, I mean, technically we could trade him back Ariza in the offseason.
We could do that as well. I'd prefer to keep Ariza and trade whatever contract we get for Whiteside, but
yeah. I'm just saying we have that contract.
Because Ariza's look good, man. Okay, yeah. This will segue into something I wanted to talk about as well. Ariza's been solid, dude. I mean, it's his 2nd game, so I'm not trying to be too premature with any conclusions here, but dude just looks like he fits in a lot better than Bazemore did. The problem I had with Bazemore, man, he just did not play his role as well as he should have. He tried to do too much. He tried to force too much. He tried to dribble too much. He was not a good enough shooter. But Ariza's come in and just fit in actually seamlessly. He looks... Sorry, ads. I'm looking back at the box score. But Ariza 3 for 7 tonight, 1 for 4 from the three-point line. So he struggled with his three-point shot. But, he sparked a lot of the ball movement. He made the quick skip pass, the quick swing pass. And just didn't necessarily result in assists, but it helped the ball movement. And I don't think it's entirely a coincidence that our best ball movement of the season came in Trevor Ariza's 2nd game for us.
I hope that's not, because we did see a little bit of that when Carmelo was first signed. So hopefully it doesn't fade away like it did with Carmelo lately.
Yeah, I mean, having Hood in the lineup helped that, just extra spacing and you know, whatever. And then when we had to put Bazemore in there, the problem was Bazemore was a ball stopper, I think. He took way too long to make the swing pass, and at that point, the defense had recovered enough where they were matched up well, and we couldn't take advantage of them scrambling with ball movement. You want to get defense scrambling out of position with good ball movement, but if you have a guy like Bazemore who catches on the wing, pump fake, stands there for a second, then passes it, your opportunity's gone. That's what I like about Ariza. He either catches, shoots, or he catches it immediately dishes it.
And he doesn't try to go make a crazy shot or shoot a fadeaway jumper with a guy on him and stuff like that. Yeah, I love the way he fits with Dame and CJ now.
Yeah.
One thing I do I've noticed he's done this at least once in the first two games he's played with us, is that when he knows he's not in a position to get a rebound, he leaks to the other end of the floor, and we've gotten a couple easy buckets off that. Dame had a nice pass to him in this game in the second half where the shot went up and we had rebounders under the basket and he just left and there was no one down there. Dame just threw it up to him for a dunk.
Yeah.
And that's
It seemed like
savvy veteran move right there. And that's
mm-hmm.
when we struggled with defensive rebounds, like I always wondered why we wouldn't just start cherry picking guys because we can't get rebounds anyway. You might as well every once in a while when you do get a rebound, throw it down for an easy basket.
Yeah. I mean, we only had 4 fast break points tonight, which kind of surprised me, but I felt like we played at a faster pace. You know, I mean, it wasn't reflected in the fast break points, but I felt like we had a good pace about our offense. So,
when you score 139 points or whatever it was,
and only 4 of them fast break, but I think it was more like secondary transition and just kind of getting into the offense well, creating mismatches, getting good looks because we had made a hit-ahead pass early in the offense, that type of thing. We weren't walking up the ball up the court for the most part. And when we were, it was like Dame was setting up a pick and roll and shooting from 32 feet or whatever. But, yeah, so I just like the way Ariza fits in with this team at this point, just based on what I've seen out of 2 games. And, the fact that his contract probably won't stop us from accomplishing anything, I'd pick up his $13 million for next season. That'll be an asset that we can trade if needed, but he just looks like he fits in with this offense, and I think he'll fit in when Nurkic there. Maybe he's not the starting small forward, but dude can play the 3 or the 4. Like, that's just a good piece to have. That trade is looking better. The better Ariza plays, the better that trade looks.
And everyone is still talking like, oh, well, we're going to waive Ariza in the offseason. And I don't think they acquired him to just waive him because, it did save us some money this year, but Bazemore would have came off the books too, and we wouldn't have had to pay him $1.8 million. So, like, why would you have traded for a guy like that if you didn't think that he could possibly be on the team next year? So, but yeah, if you get anything from – well, that's kind of like the situation with Whiteside and Nurk this year, too, with Hood not knowing when he'll be back. But if he's back at any point in the season, you have Ariza and Hood, and then you get one more wing either through free agency or the draft or whatever, trade for Whiteside this year. That's 3 opportunities you have to add one more solid wing to that rotation, more of a long-term fit there since you don't know the status of Hood and his injury, and then Ariza's kind of older, so it's not like it's a several-year long-term solution at the wing position. Mm-hmm. But if you have those 2 and then a one more solid wing to pair with them, that's a solid rotation. They're all decent defenders and can all hit the 3. I think we'd be pretty set as long as our bigs are healthy next year too. So yeah, hopefully we keep Ariza with Hood and then add one more piece to that.
I mean, the more I look at this trade, man, it's just Olshey made a good trade. Olshey made a good trade. I think people kind of like, got on him a little bit too early with that. We saved money. We got the best player. He's on a potential 2-year contract, so he can be an asset next year. He plays a position of need as a 3-and-D guy. We got a $7 million traded player exception. Who knows if we use it or not? But overall, it was a good trade, and it's looking better. The better Ariza plays, and the better Ariza fits in with us.
Necron, we talked about. The Blazers traded a 24-second violation, and then the Pacers did an 8-second violation. And pretty much every game I saw today had some sort of variation of that.
Yeah, except for I think the first game of the day was like either right after it happened or before it happened, and there was nothing like that. But it started with that Toronto game. Every game after that, I was looking at play-by-play lists on ESPN, and they were pretty much all of them looked like 24-second shot clock violation, 24-second shot clock violation, or 24-second shot clock violation and a half-court violation or something like that. So,
I want to give Stotts credit, too, for this game. For for putting Little in at power forward instead of
Mm-hmm.
Swanigan in the first quarter. And then
Shouldn't need to
not
give
pl-
him credit for that, but
yeah, not playing Swanigan at all at power forward. Thank you. Like I'm fine with him being the backup center right now while we have no other options. Like we literally don't have any
mm-hmm.
other options now that we sent Moses Brown back down. But do not play Swanigan and Whiteside together, please, unless it's against like an extremely rare, um, like a team like Utah last year that has Favors and Gobert maybe. But
Yeah.
like other than that, like you do not
Like
play
maybe an
those guys together.
Aldridge and a Pirtle, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But
I
if
can't give
it's
him props for that, man.
right,
That should be common sense that you don't play Caleb Swanigan at power forward, man. Um, that's the thing. Is like I'll criticize Stas for playing Swanigan at power forward when Swanigan gets burnt, and it's like I'll be saying it's obvious you don't play that man at power forward. He does not have the foot speed to keep up at that position. Like not even close. He's way too slow to keep up at that position. And then the next game, Stotts won't play Swanigan at power forward, and people say, "See, he didn't play Swanigan at power forward this time. You need to give him props." It's like, no,
yeah,
like that's common sense to me. You know, that's that's like basic basketball logic to me. So the fact that he practiced common sense by not playing Caleb Swanigan at power forward, that doesn't mean I have to give him props for using some common sense.
yeah.
Um, but
I also I like that I've been pretty clear about this all year about not benching Simons, but I felt like he played him the exact amount and took him out, gave him a hook and went to Trent instead of
mm-hmm.
keeping him in there struggling. So I have to at least give him credit for not overplaying Simons in this game when he clearly didn't have it again as well. And you might see Simons' minutes dip as Trent does better. Trent's actually been playing key minutes down the stretch of some games too. So yeah, it's nice to see him develop. He's kind of doing what we were hoping Simons would be doing at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But he was more ready to play than Simons ever was. So I also liked we had a play out of the second quarter. I forgot what started it, but we ended up having a guy cutting to the middle around the free throw line, got the ball, and then we had Swanigan going backdoor on the backside, and it led to a layup for Swanigan. So I like that we actually ran a set play out of a quarter ending where we have time to set up a play. So once again, you could probably say like we shouldn't give him credit for stuff that he should be doing anyway, but
Mm-hmm.
it's just nice to see when it actually happens, like stuff we've been talking about, like whether it's out of a timeout or out of a quarter break where you have several minutes to set up a set play. You don't have to run an isolation or a post up out of those situations. Save those situations for when you're not in a timeout situation, and then you can just say, okay, go post up or go ISO. But like out of a timeout, that should never be your first response to
Yeah.
that.
It's like having like a fully capable 10-year-old kid that keeps putting their shirt on backwards, and then one day he finally puts his shirt on the right way, and it's like, okay, do we give him props for knowing how to put on a shirt? You know what I mean? Like I don't know how to,
Yeah.
like I'm trying to think of analogies here. You know what I mean? It's like an NBA coach should, you know, should be able to realize that Caleb Swanigan is not the right option at power forward, especially against perimeter bigs, especially when he is going up against a smaller Dallas team where he's out there guarding guys like Justin Jackson and Dorian Finney-Smith and stuff like that, and then out there on an island against Porzingis. Like, but you know, I mean, I guess sure, but you know, let's be positive.
Yeah.
Stotts did not bother me at all tonight. I
He
think
didn't
that's a positive thing to say.
he didn't cost the team
Yeah.
the game tonight.
Yeah, no, I mean, he was completely fine tonight. Handled his rotation right. Yeah, Simon's played 15 minutes. That's what I think might be the thing going forward is Simon's, you know, not necessarily getting all the backup guard minutes, just getting, you know, about like 15 minutes a game because he struggled, man. He had a layup there where he's made a good move, could have jumped into the defender and like finished around the rim, and he like flipped the ball up away from the rim, like from over here, instead of like going up over his defender and finishing around the rim. He like flipped it from out like away from the rim and missed bad. You know what play I'm talking about?
Yep.
Yeah, that's the type of stuff I'm talking about. He has to stop doing that.
Yep.
Um,
Yep. He practically airballed the lay-in, is what you're
hmm
saying.
Yeah, I mean, like, just go strong, bro. Like, he's just, I don't know. It's almost like he jumps so high, he's scared of getting, like, people running under him or something, or, like, scared of getting knocked down and getting hurt. It's just like he goes so finesse. He'll get a step and then he'll, like, fade away and, like, flick something up from his shoulder. It's just strange.
Well, he's so athletic. It's so hard because he's probably used to getting wherever he wants.
Mhm.
All he has to do is jump, and he can get a shot off against most people.
Yeah.
But you get to the NBA, and everyone's bigger, faster, stronger. But you just gotta go back to your fundamentals. And when you go for a lay-in, your hand goes towards the box and the backboard. Instead of away from it. It's really simple, but it's hard when you have like a 7-foot shot blocker waiting for you. But I guess that wasn't necessarily the case tonight, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Um, but with him, it's like I don't know if he's feeling the pressure like Cody's asking. Um, I think it's more just like the team's not doing as good as it was last year, and so when he struggles with his shot and that second unit struggles as a unit, especially when like CJ was out too, it's really hard because if you don't hit your first shot, then it starts to weigh on you, and you're like, crap, am I going to get taken out
Hmm.
and all that stuff. And so I commend Stotts for that too. For he's been trying to let him work through stuff as opposed to other years where he hasn't really given young players that same sort of leash when they struggle. But yeah, now it's kind of you either have to like produce or you can't play time because we need to make either a playoff run or just say screw it and play. Just let Simons play as much as he wants and not have it
Yeah.
matter. But I definitely think this team has playoffs in their mindset, and so yeah, I think his minutes will be cut a little bit. I don't know if Olshey would ever bring in a Derrick Rose type or a player that would completely cut off his minutes this year. Um, yeah, it's tough. I don't know if he would do that.
Yeah, I don't know either. It'll be interesting to see what happens. It'll be interesting to see what Olsha does, what he elects to do. I assume there's another move in the making. I'll be disappointed if there isn't. But we have to wait and see on that.
Yeah.
So we'll take maybe a couple questions and then I'm gonna sign off this stream.
Darren Collison retired over the offseason, and then it was rumored that he was potentially going to sign with one of the LA teams. I don't think he's an option for anyone else other than them.
He
Um,
makes a ton of
I,
sense for the Lakers, to be honest. Just guy
yeah,
doesn't shoot much, can play off the ball, but handle the ball, create a play here and there, but shoot threes well. And they need a point guard, so he makes a ton of sense for the Lakers. But yeah, he's not an option for us. He'll go to a contending team. If like something happened to George Hill or something, then maybe the Bucks or the LA teams. But definitely not a team that's in 11th place in the Western Conference right now.
yeah. I didn't know Jimbo Slice was Dan Dickow in disguise.
Oh yeah, he is Jimbo Slice. Yeah, I haven't seen Jimbo Slice in a while. No,
No, it
he's
says
Dan Dicko.
his name's now Dan Dickow,
Yeah,
aka Jimbo.
yeah,
We should
Jim.
get Dan Dickow. He's a little old, I think. He's like my age.
He is. He is old, but yeah, Prairie High School's. He's Vancouver's finest. Vancouver's finest, right there. I'm the real fan, Dicko. Um. Anyway, yeah, I'm just kind of mentally worn out, so that's why this was gonna
Uh,
be a shorter stream.
I'll leave with this. So Dame was the first Blazer ever with 3 straight 40-plus games,
Mm-hmm.
and he's the second player in NBA history besides Steph Curry to hit 8 threes in 3 consecutive games or
Wow.
more.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, his shot's been on. He brought his 3 point percentage up to over 38%. He's shooting 38.2% from three right now. Uh,
Remember a few weeks ago, all those people saying that he's not a good 3-point shooter?
yeah, people are clueless. Part of the reason why you can't base it only off his percentages is he does shoot he does miss a three here or there because he's trying to draw fouls. A lot of
Yeah.
times he does draw fouls, and those don't count as a field goal attempt unless they go in, which usually they don't. But when he doesn't get the foul, it always counts as a miss. So it's
Well,
efficient. It's efficient for him to try and get that foul because he gets it a lot. You know what I mean? And he does hit some a lot, but like that helps he draws a lot of 3-point fouls, but it also results in his 3-point percentage going down, if that makes sense. And he also, him shooting a lot of those deep threes probably doesn't help his 3-point percentage, but it helps create more spacing and it helps get defenders out on him, and he uses that against them to get into the lane. So you can't just base shooting off of 3-point percentage. People that do that are ignoring proper context.
volume and degree of difficulty.
Yeah, he's shooting 10 threes a game, man. Shooting 10 threes a game, 9.8, 9.9. But yeah, that's a ton of threes.
It's not like he's getting Aminu type looks from last year.
Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, he's a phenomenal shooter, and some of the threes he hits is it's insane, man.
Which veteran point guard is available that you would sign or trade for?
I don't know. There's not a lot of good deals out there. Rose might be a possibility, but that's about it.
Yeah, Rose made a lot more sense when we still have Bazemore because you could do like a Snell and Rose for Bazemore and picks, but it's a lot harder for Detroit to get up to that. One interesting thing is if they find a trade partner for Drummond and they don't like what that team has to offer, but it's something that could help us, and then we could give them an expiring, and then they get the pick from the other team.
For example, say Boston wanted to trade Gordon Hayward for Drummond or whatever, but Detroit wanted to rebuild. That's why they were trading Drummond, so they didn't really care for Hayward. They would rather have the pick. Then we could jump in there and trade we could trade a first round pick in Whiteside and take on Hayward and trade Whiteside and that first round pick to the Pistons and kind of work something around that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think the Celtics are going to trade Hayward. I'd be surprised.
No, it's just a hypothetical.
Yeah, I know. But people were talking about it earlier in the chat.
For sure. I should have, disclaimed that.
Yeah.
That's just a hypothetical idea. That's, I don't think they'll trade Hayward. I don't think they even need a center as much as people say. But we'll see. We'll see if they elect to do something there. They would have to trade Hayward to get Drummond, though. Maybe Marcus Smart, Enes Kanter, and Daniel Tice, possibly. I don't know. That would get close. But it's just iffy. I don't see them doing either of those things.
No. Jason Joseph asked Bogdan or Joe Harris. I pretty much know where you're leaning on that.
I don't know, to be honest, because Joe Harris is on a nice contract the next 3 years, right?
No, he's a free agent. I think he's saying in the offseason.
Oh, is he a free agent?
Yeah.
That's tough. Probably Bogdanovich, but Joe Harris is just a better shooter, a more efficient player. He's just a phenomenal 3-point shooter.
Bogdanovich would fit more with our second unit more than Harris would.
Well, yeah, I think you'd start Bogdanovich and stagger him.
And Harris wouldn't really... He's not like the type of defensive three that we need in our starting lineup either, but it would be great to have his shooting at times during games. But yeah, Harris is definitely going to be the more available player simply because he's not a restricted free agent like Bogdanovich is this offseason. So there's a chance you could offer a guy like that the full mid-level exception if we had it and get him. The free agent class is so weak that there's going to be guys like that get overpaid this summer.
Yeah, I think you'll have that's basically what I was going to say. I think you'll have a team like the Hawks who might go out there and land a Drummond, or maybe go out there and trade for a Bradley Beal if he becomes available this offseason, and then they'll go, sign a Joe Harris to like a 1-year, $15 million contract or something like that. You have a noticeable amount of teams with cap space and not enough, supply of valuable free agents, so you'll end up with some players getting overpaid for a year, and Portland won't be in the running for. So that's the thing, is I haven't even started thinking about free agency really. We need to see what happens at the trade deadline first before we start like getting a clear vision for what might be possible during free agency. You know, that $10 million mid-level exception compared to the taxpayer mid-level exception, which is about $6 million. That's a pretty big difference, actually.
Yeah.
If you really think about it, look at some of the deals that are offered. So we'll have to wait and see on that one.
11 days.
Yep. So anyway, I'm gonna wrap up the stream. Thank you guys for watching. Very tough day today, man. I hope you enjoyed the stream though. Blazers had a fun game. They pulled a 20-27. We'll see where this team moves going forward. We'll have a podcast for you tomorrow, and we'll have a podcast for you Wednesday before that Wednesday night game, which is against the Houston Rockets, I believe.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So we'll see if we can knock them off again. That'll be interesting. I don't know if they played like they did tonight and kind of played that defense they played against Harden that first time around, then they'll have a chance, man. I mean, the arena should be loud going up against Westbrook. And
actually, Harden was out today, wasn't he? Or did he get hurt in the game today? I think he's going to miss a couple games with a thigh.
If they miss Harden, then that's a game I honestly think we should win.
Yeah. I think he said that he was out definitely for 1 or 2 games. I don't know if that aligns with the Blazers game or not, if they play before that. But yeah.
I mean, Blazers, if they can start picking up some of these wins and playing better basketball, I mean, they still, you know, who knows what could happen. I mean, we still got 35 games left, so there's still a lot of time to, you know, maybe make a run. But it looks tough to get that 7th seed with OKC being 7.5 games ahead of us or whatever. But I mean, we have a really easy schedule starting a couple games before the All-Star break, so I mean, we got what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We got 7 tough games ahead of us. We got Houston on the road against Los Angeles, at home versus Utah, on the road versus Denver, at home versus San Antonio, on the road versus Utah, at home versus Miami. So that's a really tough 7-game schedule. But I mean, I don't know if we can pick, if we like went 4-3, that would be the best stretch of the season by far. It'd take us playing our best basketball of the season by far. You know, we've had some flashes of good offense against the Pacers, good defense against the Rockets a few games ago. You know, I mean, it's been hit or miss, but maybe we can put together something consistent and pick up some of these games. And then after that, the schedule lightens up. Starting February 11th through March 25th, we have one of the easiest schedules in the league over that span, maybe the easiest, because it's a very soft schedule through that stretch. So you know, we'll just have to wait and see. We'll just take it one game at a time and see what happens. It's nice to get some rest though, because we don't play again until Wednesday. We got third game in a row that will have 2 days of rest going into that game. So hopefully that's helping the team. Hopefully that's helping the guys.
Yeah. Real quick, something a little lighter. Are you going to enjoy eating that blazing wing from Buffalo Wild Wings?
Yeah, I'm going to have to wait a little bit on that, but yeah, I will. I'll get you that video and I'll put it on the next podcast after that. But yeah, I need to. God damn it, man! Of course, dude. I don't even know why I came up with that idea. Screw it. Because I can't win a double down, man. I can't win a double down bet, man. Magic screwed me over. They choked a 16-point lead.
Yep.
Yeah, so I don't even want to talk about it. Lighter note? What do you mean a lighter note?
Then
lighter note for you, not me.
Oh, come on. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, it's going to suck. Anyway, like I said, we'll catch you guys.
We'll talk to you tomorrow.
And until then, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.